Hey guys, V. Rigoni Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur. Now, in the last two videos, we talked about abundance, we talked about scarcity, mindsets. Now, how do you really move from one to the other? What is the way to make that happen? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, both on the mindset side, and then also really on the side of what do you actually have to do? How do you get there? And so if you like the content, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that's always great. We love it. So again, we talked about an abundance mindset. We talked about the fact that there's a scarcity mindset, all right? And really, just to kind of go through both real quick, the abundance mindset looks at money beyond that of a consumer. They look at money as a way in which to build more wealth. They look at money as a way to help other people. They look at money as a tool that they get to deploy, and they get to use this tool and to generate more money that then pays for their lifestyle. Whereas a mindset of scarcity says you got to trade your time for work. So that the mindset of scarcity says you have to trade your time for work, and the value of your time will determine how much money you make. Now, I'm not talking about the corporate suite. I'm talking about just, I'm not talking about doctors and, high priced lawyers. No, I'm talking about the average person. You're trading your time for money. By doing that, you value your time at a certain amount, and that's what you get. All right. And then you look at life from a standpoint of consumerism. Your money is there just to pay your bills. Hopefully there'll be a little bit left over, that you'll have enough over time. This little bit will accumulate throughout your life, so you can then have enough money to retire on. I say that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit thinking. Don't think like that. Start to think differently. Start to think from that standpoint of abundance. Does that mean that all people who think from a standpoint of abundance are happy? No, they're not. They got all the same problems everybody else has when it comes to, relationships and things like that. It's just that life's more fun. Life has less fear. Life has more convenience. And so that's what financial freedom gives you. It gives you choices, as we talked about in the last video. So let's talk about how do we get from there? How do we really move into that? Well, you've got to start to think like the people who live in a mindset of abundance. You've got to start to think like the wealthy people. You see, what's interesting is when I did the video of abundance, I didn't use the word wealth that much, right? But when I did use the video, shoot the video regarding scarcity, I used the term middle class a lot, right? You got to move past the concept of middle class. You got to move past the concept. You got to move into that level where it's financial freedom. And then that will let you go wherever you want to go. Once you achieve financial freedom, you are now free. You have choices in which you get to choose whether you want to go on vacation, when, where, how. You get to give money to whomever you want. All these things become available to you. Now, the fastest way to make this happen is to stay where you're at, keep doing your job, do your job better, try to get as much increases in salary, all right? But what else? First, it's create that understand where wealthy people come from, how they think. They think a couple of different ways than you guys think. They think about how to generate more money, how to create more money without having to trade their time for the money, right? They think about, how to use, what are the tools around that, right? The tools around that really become part of other people's time and other people's money. They think about how the ability to borrow money in order to grow, in order to achieve things. If you just try to do it all in cash, it doesn't work. I'm not Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey's not Dave Ramsey either. He made all his money in the media industry. Then he bought real estate. Well, that's all great. He's just trying to maintain his wealth. But if you want to grow your wealth, you're going to have to learn how to figure out how to borrow money. You have to have a job to do that. That's why I say your biggest asset right now is your job. And then create a side hustle to begin with. Do something on the side to generate more money, so that you can put together a pile of money that will be your seed money to start with. And also, you get your credit right. You got to have your credit right. You got to have good credit rating, at least a decent credit rating, so you can go to a bank and they'll look at you not like as if you got, 4 eyeballs. You got to go there with a decent credit rating, with a little bit of money and a good job. And now you go buy the duplex. You can go buy the the small apartment building. You can look at buying a laundromat. You can do some things with other people's money. Now, you may not be able to be able to go to the bank and borrow the money to buy a laundromat. It just doesn't work that way. They don't like to give business loans. But there's a thing called SBA, Small Business Association. The SBA, they guarantee a certain percentage, I think it's like 50% of the loan when you go to borrow money to either start a business or to buy a business. What wealthy people understand is how the rules of the game are, what the rules of they are, and then they understand how to interpret them and how to apply them. If you can figure out what the rules are, how to properly interpret them, how to properly apply them, you can move very quickly from where you're at to a much higher financial level very quickly. One loan, one SBA loan can put you there because that one SBA loan can buy you a business. And you say, how do I run that business? I got a job. So what? You got a manager. Hire a manager. You won't make as much money, but you'll maintain your job. At the same time, you'll now create revenue off of the business. Then you can either choose at some point to manage the business directly. That's thinking a little bit small. Or maybe buy an additional one. Start to scale. Because you're allowed, I think, to borrow up to $5 million from the SBA. Did you know that? You're allowed to borrow up to $5 million through the SBA Loan Guarantee Program. And it's not guaranteed for you. It's guaranteed for the lender, which makes them smile, which makes you smile. So we could do a whole thing on just the SBA loan. But this is one of the major tools that if you want to go out and you want to buy a business and the seller will not hold the financing, you do an SBA loan. But, and the reason you want to do it with an SBA loan is because you may not have enough down payment to satisfy the seller. You see, most sellers or most businesses are willing to hold back 50%, 70%, but they still want you to come with 30% or 40%, a substantial amount. And so they'll hold the note, or you can pay them for the rest until you pay off the rest of the business, all right? But if you don't have 30 or 40% to put down, you still want to get into business, well, then you got to start thinking about the SBA, because you can do that with either 10 or less than 10% down. So if you want to buy a $200,000 business, you can usually get into the SBA loan program now for less than 10%. So on $200,000, that'd be less than $20,000. Now I know there's all these things about how to start a business with no money. I'm not into that bullshit. And if you are at that level, then you got to either go down that road, or you got to start saving a few dollars and put some money together and get some discipline around your life and all those other things happening first, which will help you very much help you succeed in business, and then put $20,000 or $30,000 to get down together. And then be able to go to the SBA and apply for a loan. Now, the lender that you go to, you can Google it. There's lenders out there that do SBA loans. You apply for an SBA loan through a lender, through an approved lender. And so then you go and you move forward with the loan. So that's one of the ways in which you can move. I'm actually giving you the keys. This is some of the information. See, the other thing that makes people wealthy is also the ability to scale. They just don't, there's very rare. Yes, over a lifetime, someone can become wealthy owning one restaurant. In a lifetime, someone could become wealthy owning one laundromat, if it's a really nice laundromat. In other words, they used it as their job. This is what part of their job is. But if you want to get wealthy quicker, you got to learn to scale. How do I go from OPT, other people's time, to manage one laundromat, to multiply that out to having 5 managers on 5 laundromats? Remember, the SBA will lend you up to $5 million. Doesn't have to be all in one project. So then by using the SBA, then you're using other people's money, OPM. By hiring managers and people that staff the laundromat, use OPT, other people's time. Yes, you got to pay them, but your employees are making you money. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business. Make sure you're in a business and a vehicle that can make you money. Don't just jump into something because you love it. It may be the worst damn thing you could do, although it might be the best. Again, there's always 2 truths. A lot of times there's 2 truths. And I always use this as an example. The fastest way to get rich in this world is buy one stock. The fastest way to go broke in this world is buy one stock. Both are true. My point is, you learn to buy a business, then you learn to scale that business. You learn to manage people as you're going along. Do you know how to manage 180 people? I don't. I still don't, but I do, because we have managers that manage those people. And then we manage the managers. Myself and my son, we manage the manager who manages all the other managers. So it's just building, it's building this building one floor at a time. And you get the nice thing about the way you get to build is you get to learn as you go, all right? Because you might find that, you're thinking about an SBA loan and then the guy says no, but then the seller says, well, maybe I can do it with the 10% down, and then in another year you come up with another 10%. In other words, you're letting the business pay the guy that built the business, and he's letting you do it. There's a lot of businesses for sale right now in America in which you can get into for 10 or 15 or 20% down because the seller, he's 75, 80 years old, wants to get out of it. It's successful. The kids are 60 years old. They don't want the business. The grandkids are like, are you kidding me? And then you get to walk into a business in which has been running for 50 years. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising and in trying to grow. And you get to walk into that thing with very little money down, whether it be through an SBA or whether you can convince a seller. And sometimes you can convince a seller to do it with less money down the first year, because every year you're going to then give them another chunk of money beyond the payment. All right? Now, there's ways to structure these things. Then the other thing that the wealthy people understand is taxation. So if you want to get into the world of abundance, you got to understand taxation. Now, the reason you don't really understand taxation right now is because you do W-2 work or basic 1099, which means you get to pay. Most of your money is taxable. You pay the taxes. You get the deduction, the standard deduction. It saves you that. What is it, $12,500 or $13,000 per person this year? That's it. And after that, you get to pay taxes on everything else. But you might say, but I put money in a 401k. Okay. If it's a traditional 401k, you won't pay the taxes on the money goes in the traditional 401k. All right, that's 3% of your income. Why is it 3% of their income? Because most people only put in the minimum required in order to get the free money from the employer. So that's why, it's another 3% of your income that doesn't get taxed. Now, it could be 5, could be 6, I don't know. But they understand, wealthy people understand taxation. Not that they can write the book on it, not that they can write an article about it. No, because they just hire the people that know how to do it. You see, you go out and you hire H&R Block, or you hire whatever other tax service, and they do a good job and they do your taxes. That's not the people that wealthy people hire. They hire tax attorneys. They hire people that are skilled, CPAs that are skilled in tax planning. See, you don't do any tax planning. You just do your taxes. When was the last time someone said, hey, did you plan for your taxes? No, they say, did you do your taxes? Wealthy people plan their taxes. I mean, there's a law in the books right now. They just extended. It was created during the Trump administration. Oh, and by the way, the Biden administration just extended through Congress. They just signed off on it. They just extended it out to 2026, where if you buy a business, even if you put no money down, a dollar down, and that business, let's say, is $200,000, you get to write that entire business off against your income. Now, I'm not a tax specialist. I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm just telling you what's out there. So that if you made $200,000 last year, you're not paying no taxes. Then you get to buy, if you have an LLC and you have an active business, then you also get they call that bonus depreciation. Then you get the bonus depreciate a vehicle. Maybe it's a truck for the business that you also drive during the day as a truck for the business. Now you don't pay, you get to depreciate that down immediately against your income. Wealthy people understand all these little nuances to the tax code. When I mean by they understand that it benefits them. Ask me what the tax numbers next to the codes for all this stuff. I have no idea. I just know they exist. Why? Because we use them. So start to think the way they think. It isn't just dream the way they dream. Yes, you must dream the way they dream, and then you must do what they do in the sense of self-actuate to that level and be able to take your dreams, turn them into goals, put activity around the goals, and then time measurement of those activities, and then make sure that you're accomplishing them all. If you only accomplish half the goals, you may not even have half the results, because the goal required all the activities in order to accomplish it. So don't do 80% and then let it go. Do 110, right? And then apply the tax laws. And you will see that by using OPM, OPT, and the tax laws, you can change your status from middle class to entrepreneurial and become part of the wealthy class very quickly. very quickly. Think about what I just said. Leave me some comments, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers here. But if I do, I don't really give a shit. Because you're either going to decide that you want to be a consumer for life. That means you're going to live in the world of scarcity. And you're going to sit there and hope and pray that you got enough money for your retirement, which there's an 80% chance you won't. Because, hey, right now, over 50% of all the baby boomers retiring, and they've had 401ks almost their entire life available to them, are going to retire freaking broke. And then another 20% of the overall population, which now makes up to 70, they'll either be broke at day one or they'll be broke within 10 years. That means it's leaving 20 to 30% of the people. Again, it's amazing how Pareto's law keeps flowing. So where do you want to be? Well, you want to be in the hope and pray category, or do you want to be able to do it now category and make it happen now and gain your financial freedom now? All right. So do what I always say. Think big, start now, grow fast. Let's get out there. Let's make it happen. And remember, abundance, baby. Start thinking about abundance. Talk to you soon. V. Rigoni, Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur.